Well, hello everybody. This is Joe Van Cleve and welcome to another episode of the Typewriter video series. Today is Tuesday, January 24th, 2017. Yesterday's video was where I met my friend David Loving out by the Rio Grande, and we talked about this low-budget movie that we made years ago. Well, today we're going to do a different video. I have been kind of stir-crazy the last couple of days. It's been kind of damp weather in New Mexico, and then today it's now cold and windy. Very cold and windy, so I decided, hey, since I already have an upper respiratory infection, let's go outside in the cold wind. So I decided I would go to the antique stores in Albuquerque along Central Avenue near Nob Hill. And of course, when I'm in the antique store, thrift store mood, I'm always looking for a few things. I'm looking for Japanese abacuses, soroban. I'm looking for typewriters, maybe old cameras. Today I saw several abacuses, one Japanese and one Chinese style, nothing that I don't already have. I think the soroban was about $24, a little bit too much money for my blood. I saw a Yashica rangefinder camera that was very intriguing, but it looked like it didn't work and the shutter had problems. I saw a Minolta XG7 SLR that was very interesting, but nothing I don't already have. And then I was looking for typewriters, and I saw an old Oliver, which didn't really interest me, especially for $175, and it wasn't in good shape. I saw an old medium-sized upright Royal typewriter, dark gray, drab, from probably the 1930s or 40s maybe. Didn't really interest me, and they wanted $100 for it. And then I went to one of my favorite thrift stores, Classic Century Square, where I found this little Brother. Let's take a look at this Brother typewriter. Well, I think I've bought other typewriters from this same seller at Classic Century Square. I might have even bought my wide carriage Olympia SM9 from her. But when I found this typewriter, I brought it up, I checked it out a little bit, it looked like it worked. I brought it up to the counter and I asked if she would take some money off, and she had to call the buyer, and I overheard their conversation on the phone. She said, "Oh, it's the small one." And so when she got off the phone, I said, "Does it sound like she said there's another typewriter?" And she says, "Yeah." So I went back to her booth. There was no other typewriter, but it probably was already sold, but it could have been one I bought earlier. But anyways, this typewriter has a plastic clamshell case with a metal bottom with feet, and it looks very, very similar to my Royal Mercury that's made by Silver Seiko. Even has the similar kind of push buttons to unlatch the typewriter lid from the body of the typewriter. You notice the price tag little string is still there. I just got this machine home. I haven't even done anything to it. I literally just got home, set up my little studio here, and here it is. This is a Charger 11, a Brother Charger 11. And so one of the first things I looked at when I tried testing it out was the ribbon, and I noticed the ribbon vibrator wasn't moving at all up and down. It is now, and the reason why is because they had the end of ribbon metal grommet was snarled up inside the ribbon vibrator and keeping it from moving. So I rethreaded the ribbon back on there just to get it working, and so it does work. And so the ribbon spools turn, and everything mechanically appears to be working fine on this typewriter. It's a little dirty, as you would expect. It has this very similar to the Royal Mercury's, this same kind of ribbon cover that has the metal posts. Instead of being round posts, these are flat with kind of a bullet-shaped tip. They engage in these gray rubber O-rings here, which appear to be in good shape. The platen appears to be in good shape, and it has this slight white powdery film on it that you see a lot of times on Olympias and such not. So this typewriter has, unlike the later brothers, like my blue Webster, This does not have the repeat spacer key, so it's a standard type of key, spacer key. It has the standard keyboard. It's an older style keyboard, so it doesn't have the number 1. Instead, you use the lowercase l. It has the 1/4, 1/2, the cent, the @ symbol, so it's a standard American style keyboard. But everything appears to be working good. I even checked out the escapement, tipping it up like this and doing rapid, like this, and doing rapid typing. It appears the escapement is working fine. It's interesting that it has this very similar type of metal, a little metal spring where the keys will impinge upon it before they hit the ring and platen, or the ring and cylinder. And I noticed on my newer Webster, it had the same type of spring thing, that it would make a little vibrating noise, bing, 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 as the type bars hit it. And I had to put a little bit of foam behind it to dampen the sound, but hopefully I won't have a problem with this. This one is rather dirty inside. It looks like there's some hardened grease that I need to degrease this, to blow out the dust, clean it up really good, but it's not really in too bad a shape. Everything looks like it's working mechanically, and I'm looking forward to working on it and typing with it. This Charger 11 typewriter is a lower end model in the Brother line. It doesn't have some of the amenities like a paper support lever back here. It does not have any tabs. So it's kind of a lower level, maybe student type typewriter, but it's rather slim, pretty slim profile. Definitely you would categorize this as an ultra portable, I think. And it even has the Parents Magazine little sticker, which is kind of cool. I'm going to just do some practice typing on a spare sheet of paper here and let's see what happens here. Yes, I misspelled that word. But it is an interesting little type font. Let's see if I can type style, maybe is a better way of saying it. But I think it's a pretty nice little style of font. That's the original ribbon. I haven't done any maintenance at all to this typewriter yet. So it has a nice quality to it. So I think I'm going to enjoy the alignment between upper and lower case. Looks pretty good. The ribbon seems to have a problem. Maybe the ribbon vibrator. We'll have to work on that. But it looks like upper and lower case is lined up pretty well. And shift lock lines up pretty good. There's maybe a slight misalignment that I can probably correct, but it's pretty good overall. So I'm going to have fun with this. Nice little beige portable typewriter. So I've noticed already, just from doing a test paragraph, that it has a nice style of font. The alignment and the letter imprint and the spacing all looks pretty darn good. And I have to say, I think compared to my later Brother-made Webster XL 747, I think this has a lighter touch. Now, I haven't done any maintenance to it, and I don't see a touch adjustment lever anywhere in this machine. So this is a lower end model, doesn't have the touch adjustment, but it has a fairly light touch, which I'm surprised at. And so this is encouraging. I'm looking forward to fixing this up and having some fun with it. So besides the usual cleaning, degreasing, lubrication, I noticed on this little card insert, whatever you call the little guide here that for typing on business cards, I noticed one of the screws right here is missing. And so I'm going to have to replace a screw on it. It's probably metric, so I'll have to look through my collection of spare hardware and try to find something that works. But overall, it looks like I'm not going to have to do too much, hopefully, besides cleaning, degreasing, and relubing on this. Well, here we are out in the workshop in my garage, and so I'm going to have a few hand tools. I'm going to get some cotton buds, cotton swabs. I also have some of these mascara brushes that come in handy. I'm going to use some 91% isopropyl alcohol that I actually have in a squeeze bottle. And I'm going to use some naphtha, Zippo lighter fluid. If I really need to get serious with degreasing, I have this PB Blaster, which gets kind of odoriferous. And I have some silicon-based Teflon lubricant. And I also have some electronic degreaser. And I have some Remington gun oil, which also comes in handy. A variety of cleaners, solvents, lubricants, and so the first thing I want to do is take off of course, the hard shell, and I want to take off the bottom plate so I can dust out this typewriter. And it's going to be 4 little screws with the feet that come off with it, and the little bottom plate comes off. There's 2 little slotted screws there. So if you look at the inside of the bottom plate, it kind of gives you an idea of how dirty the machine might be. So there is a piece of this thin sound absorbing foam, and you can see that underneath the keyboard area there's just a light film of dust, and then there's a little bit of debris, some kind of residue on it, but not really too bad. It doesn't look like it has a whole lot of eraser crumbs. There's just a little bit in there. So we will continue with this. You can see underneath it, it has some degree of dirt and residue that needs to be blown off of it with an air compressor. And it looks like there's a little piece of brown craft paper stuck in underneath there. But I'm going to go take my air compressor and blow this out. When I do so, I'm going to try to be very careful not to blow too hard anywhere there's these little springs and pieces that might fly off. So I'm going to be kind of gentle about it. Also, before I blow out this typewriter, there's these 2 side panels, this one on the other side. If you take off the little washer and screw right here, and the one back here, these slip off like that. So this gives us access more to the internal chassis of the machine. And there's also the 2 covers on the side of the platen. They're held on by 2 screws, and you have to remove the platen knobs. I think for now I'll leave them on until I see if I need to take them off. So let's go blow this thing out with the air compressor. Okay, I've blown out most of the residue that will come loose with an air compressor. And I want to point out to you that down in places like here, there's a lot of this residue that's stuck onto it. And it looks like, not sure what it is, but it looks like it could even be perhaps not only dust and household residue, but it might even be cockroach parts stuck in there. So it might have been living in a house, an environment that was insect infested, but I don't see any other evidence of that directly. But anyway, it's kind of filthy. So I'm going to have to do a lot of cleaning with cotton buds on the inside surfaces in here to try to get the inside surfaces as clean as I can get them. Because it's sort of not just an external cosmetic thing, but it's nice to know that all the debris and gunk is out of here as much as possible. Let me show you on the bottom here. Looks fairly clean, but again, there's a lot of these little surfaces that just need to be cleaned up a little bit better. I wanted to show you here how easy it is to get in to clean the escapement cog. It's right there underneath the bottom of the machine. This is the machine turned upside down, so I can get in here with an alcohol. I can get all the residue and grease and old dirt off the teeth of the escapement cog, and the little pivot point here I can clean, and I'll have to degrease and lubricate, but it's pretty cool having access to the escapement this close and readily. Well, I have most of this cleaned about as good as I'm going to get it. All the grunge that was down in those crevices down underneath the carriage is nice and clean, about as clean as I can get it. And the platen I cleaned with a rag and alcohol, and underneath here it's all been cleaned up now. So now I'm going to start lubricating, and I even got the keys with Windex. I keep some Windex in a bottle here, and so the things with paint, with engraved paint, I don't hit with alcohol, but a little Windex works pretty good. So there's a little bit of superficial stuff like a little scratch right here on the paint, but it's really in pretty good shape, I'd say. Wasn't used too hard, but I'm going to go ahead and start lubricating, and I'm going to hit some naphtha down in the slots of the segment. Actually, the type slugs look really clean, surprisingly. The comb down here where the levers go through, I'm going to probably do a little bit of spray lubricant down in there just to lube them up. And then the joints for the linkages, I'm going to get a cotton bud with some oil on it and just hit those joints and try to hit the back of the where the linkages go into the segment here, try to get those as well. And a few other points like the pivot points for the shifting, which is underneath on this rod that rotates, and the this right here where the linkage is that does the spacing and all that, I'm going to have to hit that as well. So all the key pivot areas I'm going to try to lubricate. Well, here's all the dirty cotton buds and piles of dirty rags, and but hey, looky here, we got ourselves a clean little typewriter. It has a pretty nice little imprint now with a new ribbon. Nice and dark. My camera isn't focusing, but a nice and dark imprint. And I will say that it's probably a better imprint than my blue Brother-made Webster typewriter. This is before the ribbon was replaced, and this is after. And there is some red also because I'm using a two-color ribbon. So very cool. So it came out pretty nice and clean, and I really like the feel of it. Even though it does not have the touch selector, it has a pretty good feel. I think I can touch type on this thing pretty nicely. And so it's a nice little student's portable typewriter, and really happy with it for what it is. It's not a high-end machine by any means, but it's a high-quality, little, economical student ultra-portable typewriter. I was pleasantly surprised today to have found this little Brother typewriter in a thrift store, and it was one of the thrift stores that I have had good luck over the years. I think I've probably found 3 typewriters there, maybe. Don't remember exactly how many, but this little one was kind of dirty on the inside, but not too bad. It cleaned up okay and lubricated up okay, and it works just fine. It has a nice platen now. The rubber feels really good. It works mechanically. It looks like pretty reliably. It had some evidence of having been sitting around in probably a little bit of cigarette smoke environment. Probably got a little moisture on it at some time because some of the strange places, like up on the brackets for the margin settings, was a little bit of rust in there, which was kind of surprising, but maybe some liquid got splashed on it and it just sat there. But anyways, it cleaned up pretty nicely, and it's a good little addition to my collection. You know, I always like these little portable and ultra portable typewriters, even though mechanically and design-wise they're kind of a compromise in terms of their touch and feel, and maybe the features they have isn't as great as a bigger machine. They don't have just as many features. And that's the case with this one. It doesn't have tabs. It doesn't have a touch adjustment. But it is a nice basic portable typewriter, and very portable. Has a nice handle, snap-on case that goes right on top of it. And it looks like it's going to be very serviceable as a little portable typewriter for taking around and using. So that's what I'm going to do with it. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of just a brief glimpse of what it takes to clean and lubricate a typewriter to get it into good shape. And as far as I mentioned earlier, the little screw that's missing on the little bracket around the ribbon vibrator, that's a 2mm metric. I'm going to have to go to the hardware store and get one. But other than that, everything is in good shape. Well, this is Joe Van Cleve, and until next time, you guys have yourselves a great day.